This is a Film Stories original podcast.
When it comes to weight loss, no two people are the same. That's why Noom builds personalized plans based on your unique psychology and biology. Take Brittany. After years of unsustainable diets, Noom helped her lose 20 pounds and keep it off.
I was definitely in a yo-yo cycle for years of just losing weight, gaining weight, and it was exhausting.
And Stephanie. She's a former D1 athlete who knew she couldn't out-train her diet, and she lost 38 pounds.
My relationship to food before Noom was never consistent.
And Evan, he can't stand salads, but he still lost 50 pounds with Noom.
I never really was a salad guy. That's just not who I am. Even through the pickiness, Noom taught me that building better habits builds a healthier lifestyle. I'm not doing this to get to a number. I'm doing this to feel better.
Get your personalized plan today at Noom.com. Real Noom users compensated to provide their story. In 4 weeks, the typical Noom user can expect to lose 1 to 2 pounds per week. Individual results may vary.
We made this.
Everybody to the X-Cast. The truth is in here. You are listening to our special Fight the Future Minute podcast series. I'm your host today, Carl Sweeney, and this is our coverage of minute 61 of the film, which begins at the 1 hour mark as a train approaches where Mulder and Scully are standing, and this minute ends at 60 minutes, 59 seconds with the agents in hot pursuit. And to discuss this minute, I'm joined for the final time, I believe, by Caredwen Foley. Hey, Caredwen.
Hi.
You're not too sad, I hope, that this is your final podcast recording for the time being?
I'll survive. I mean, I'm excited. At the point that we're recording this, Fight the Future Minutes have just begun being released.
Oh, yeah.
We're recording this in early May, 2020, and it's really fun getting to hear all the other ones. So I'm really, really excited that the full minute by minute recap process is available for all my listening pleasure.
It seems like Tony and I spent a lot of time just making sure everybody understood exactly how hot it was on the day we recorded those first few minutes in the cave. It was like the hottest day of the year so far. But yeah, it is fun to listen to them back. It's been so long since some of them. It's completely new to me, some of the stuff, even though I was there. You know? Mm-hmm. All right, so this minute, I guess the big development here is the fact that, well, they make a bit of progress, don't they? Because they see the tanker trucks on that train that comes by, so they sort of know where they're going, and they hair off after that train, don't they? So yeah, they make a bit of forward progress here, don't they? Which is good.
Yeah, I like this scene a lot because, as with the previous minute, and this one more so, feels to me like the pursuit in EBE. There's something on that train or in that truck that you've been tracking, and it's been so frustrating and challenging trying to get to ping on it again. It's just been kind of under the radar. And so then to know where it is and to be able to actually give chase is really exciting for once. This also has a really, I like this sequence because it sort of has a bit of a North by Northwest-ish feel to me, which comes up at a few other points in the film as well. Like that, I mean, the corn helicopter chase scene, of course, is a good example of that. But yeah, I find it very evocative and kind of film noir-ish. Yeah, so I really enjoyed that about this chase.
It's funny you should say that, yeah, because like the last shot I think that we're talking about here is with the car going up the road up to the side as the train goes into the tunnel. And yeah, I can see what you mean about North by Northwest. It always makes me think of Raiders of the Lost Ark. I don't know if you remember the scene in that film where Indiana Jones comes down the hill on the horse and he jumps onto the Nazi truck. And I always think it's going to go somewhere like that. You know, they're going to go up to the top. They're going to do something like really attention grabbing like that. And apparently this sequence was supposed to be a bit more expansive. They were supposed to jump on the train at one point, apparently. And this was something they really kind of dialed down. So
Interesting.
I don't know. I feel kind of like a hypocrite because I think at other points on these podcasts, I think I've said maybe there are a few points where the film gets a bit too big. But then when I hear about that, I'm kind of thinking, I wish they'd have done that. I think that could have been a lot of fun to see that, you know.
It would have been extremely cool and fun to see, and very, like, action hero-y and James Bondy and, you know, and kind of Matt Bourne. But also I'm worried that it would just invite comparisons to Nissan 731 because they've done that one already, you know. They had Mulder jump on the train. But I do really like the idea of, you know, that in that episode Scully is like, Mulder, don't jump, what are you doing? Don't get on the train. This is crazy. So the idea of both of them potentially having to do that and just sucking it up and going for it is like, that is pretty cool to think about. But they do get a lot of good, you know, good running around and being under threat and stuff. So I don't know, maybe it would have been too much, but it does, I didn't know that. And so similar to what you were saying with the intended line of Scully swearing, now that I know it was a possibility, I feel kind of bummed.
I mean, what do you think about the idea of them as kind of action heroes? Because it kind of develops over the run of the series, especially when you take the revival into account, doesn't it? Because it always seemed quite grounded to me in the early days. You know, even though they're doing stuff like Mulder goes scuba diving in Tempest Fugit Max, but there's always a level of plausibility they seem to bake into it.
Yeah.
But then when we get to stuff like this or My Struggle 4, it seems like those attributes come much more to the fore, don't they? Like, you know, when Mulder takes out the guys in that aircraft hangar in My Struggle 4, for instance.
Yeah.
Do you buy that as the series moves into, like, the revival and so on? Or do you think it's a bit stretched?
I don't think it's implausible because of the time that Mulder and Scully had to spend on the run between season 9 and I Want to Believe. I think for me, it's okay that the show doesn't connect the dots in that way from, like, a plausibility standpoint. I don't love it aesthetically as kind of part of the environment of the show. It's sort of not necessarily what appeals to me about these characters, but I do like that, you know, especially in the original run and in Fight the Future, they do get to have these moments of, like, tremendous physical courage and, you know, I think those are the most effective because they're not typically given action hero responsibilities or expectations or things like that. So when it happens, it's really powerful. Like in the scene later in Fight the Future where Mulder is inside the big base in Antarctica, like sliding off the side of that huge thing. It's exciting and scary and stressful to watch because this is not what he trained for. I mean, all of his kind of beliefs in you know, extraterrestrials and the supernatural and things like that, and all of his FBI training aside, nothing prepares you for that. I mean, the jumping on a train thing that he did was really stupid and reckless and crazy, and the show depicted it that way. It worked out for him okay, but, like, at cost. Like, he loses the ability to communicate with his partner right then. So, it's a little bit less satisfying to me to see that dimension of their characters played up in the revival. And, I mean, a lot of things about the revival that I found less satisfying than the original run. But I don't, strictly speaking, think, like, how would they know how to do that? Why would they be able to do that? They'd be able to do it because, like, they had to be prepared that people were going to come and assassinate them for years and live under false identities and whatnot. I'm okay with that.
No, that's a very good point. And I think that works in this, doesn't it? Because it's very much like they kind of click into action. It's almost like they've rehearsed something like this so many times before. So I think I agree there. I think that in that instance, it makes me think that it was a bit of a missed opportunity not to do something like that with I Want to Believe. You know, because they always seemed a bit too comfortable to me in I Want to Believe, based on where we left them off in The Truth. But hey, I think we could probably get into that some other time. We probably got I Want to Believe minute coming.
I'll rejoin you for that. We can grouse about it then.
Yes, we can pick it up there. In terms of danger, there is, well, kind of, or being a daredevil or whatever. So there was a crew member on the train tracks for one shot here. There's a shot where the train is sort of bearing down towards the camera. Rob Bowman said he couldn't ask the guy to do it more than 3 times because it was making him a bit nervous, you know, and we don't want to, like, don't want to take too many chances unnecessarily and that kind of thing. But it's a really, I never really thought about it before, but it's a very effective shot. So as long as they did it, safely, I'm sure they took the necessary precautions. It kind of worked out, I think. But yeah. The other interesting thing here is that there's some shots during this minute of Mulder and Scully inside the car, and these were actually late additions done in Vancouver. Chris Carter gives a fact about trains on the commentary. Chris Carter says that apparently a train hits something every minute in the United States. I mean...
Good grief.
Who am I to doubt Chris Carter? But that seems like pretty regular to me. I don't know about that.
What does he mean by something?
That's a good point, yeah. It's something, not someone, crucially. But yeah. Caredwen, before we part for the final time on Fight the Future Minute, do you want a few more facts about trains?
I would love a few more facts about trains, Carl.
Okay, I've got a kind of a variety here. Okay, not all heroes wear capes, okay. In 1993, a 16-year-old Brooklyn teen pretended to be a subway conductor and drove a train for over 3 hours, safely picking up and discharging passengers at normal station stops along the route before getting caught. Okay, so I like his commitment to it.
Oh my gosh, what an earnest kind of Ferris Bueller of a kid. He was just that was my fantasy. I just wanted to go have a respectable middle class job for an afternoon.
Yeah, well, whenever I played the Grand Theft Auto video game, I always stopped at the traffic lights and stuff, so I kind of get it, Okay, so in 1896, Auburn ROTC cadets greased the skids of a railway track before a football game. The train with the incoming team couldn't stop and slid halfway to the next town, forcing them to walk 5 miles to the game, possibly contributing to their 45-0 loss. Which made me laugh.
Wow. I wonder if they got... I feel like that seems pretty dishonorable. I hope those kids got kicked out of ROTC.
What is ROTC? I didn't know what it was.
It's like a... I mean, I'm going to butcher this, but it's sort of a reserve... It stands for Reserve Officer Training Corps. So it's sort of a junior auxiliary military organization.
Interesting. Okay. Right, I got a few more. Right. During the Battle of Stalingrad, Soviet losses were so great that at times the life expectancy of a newly arrived soldier was less than a day.
Good grief.
Yeah, and the life expectancy of a Soviet officer was 3 days. Combat was so fierce that at one point a railway station changed hands 14 times in 6 hours.
Oh my god.
Which I'm struggling to even comprehend, but yeah. Alright, so what about this one? Most train horns are based on musical chords. Common passenger trains found in the US are usually based on major sixth chords, which are not as threatening as most freight trains, which are based on more dissonant, frightening chords, such as diminished seventh chords.
Ah.
I mean, that makes a lot of sense to me, though, that you would that there'd be a psychological element at play. That makes sense to me.
Yeah, that does make sense. I mean, I'm trying to remember what car horns are. I want to say there's those might be fourths or sevenths or something like that. But yeah, it's nice to hear that that the approach is to say hey, here's your friendly your passenger train is boarding, and we'd like that to sound better than this freight train is about to run over you.
Yeah. All right. Right, the last one. So, when trains were introduced in the United States, many people believed that women's bodies were not designed to go at 50 miles an hour, and that their uteruses would fly out of their bodies if they were accelerated to that speed. Now, I feel like, I can't think of a specific example, but I think there are several things like that where there's this kind of weird preconception about a woman's body, when new technology has come along. But what do you think of it? That's just strange, isn't it?
It's striking to me that people would have that worry about uteruses, but not about, kidneys or intestines or stomachs or any other internal bodily organ. They're not... I just... What do you even say?
For the record, Caredwen slapped her head with a palm at that point. No, I agree. And again, I'm sourcing all of these train facts to kickassfacts.com, which the website was actually better than the name kind of indicated, I gotta say. It was better than some of the other train websites I ended up on this afternoon. So, yeah. Anyway, Caredwen, yeah, we're kind of wrapped up here. I mean, we've done several of these minutes, haven't we? And but this is the end. And I think it's your last appearance on this podcast series, isn't it? So yeah, it's been fun having you, though.
Well, this is my last recording, but I still have some minutes that I've recorded that are in the hopper for later on. Yeah, it's been an absolute pleasure recording with you. I especially enjoyed all the train facts.
Yeah, lots of trivia, a little bit of X-Files talk, but yeah, that's okay. There'll be a new host as well for the next minute. So for minute 62, Russ Hugo will be here. And he is joined by Katie Doe for the next sequence. And I think this is where we get like the crops and the bee attack and stuff in the next few minutes. So really exciting stuff. So yeah, this wraps up our latest Slightly Future Minute. Thanks for listening, everyone. Caredwen, just before we go, where can people find you online?
I can be found in the XCast Basement Facebook group, or I can be found on Twitter at Caredwen, Caredwen.
Perfect. And you can find me on Twitter at CKJ Sweeney. You can find the XCast there at the X_cast. And yeah, if you haven't already, please check out the X-Files group, the XCast Basement on Facebook. It's really fun over there. But that's it for today. Until our next minute, remember, as always, trust no one.
Elsewhere on We Made This. The time is now. A Millennium podcast.
I have actually seen the 2006 Asylum movie, The Da Vinci Treasure, which is one of these mockbusters or knockbusters. It's absolutely terrible, apart from one thing. The antagonist of that movie is played by an actor called Lance Henriksen. That's the only reason I watched it.
Right, okay. Right.
I watched it quite drunk, as I recall, which is probably the best way to watch it. But Lance is the only reason to watch that, so I'm not suggesting I would go and watch it. But it was very much a sort of knockoff of the same sort of storyline and so on. But yes, sorry, I've gone off topic there. But
it's okay. It's my fault for looking at Madame Brown books and thinking, why did I buy them in the first place? But I was 18. I'll put it that I was 18.
We played this.
Where and when did your journey with video games begin?
You see, this is why I had to be honest about my age, because my first video gaming experience was the Sinclair Spectre.
Oh, Specky guy.
Well, you see, we didn't have anything like that in our home. And I was old enough to have had a 48K, but my dad kind of resisted. So we did get the 128K, and that had a built-in fucking tape deck, which was the coolest thing in the 80s.
Cinemortuary podcast.
Yeah, and so they kind of run around hell a bit, which, to be honest, doesn't look that bad. It just looks a bit like a night out in Doncaster.
Yeah, it's just a bit janky, isn't it? They're just in someone's basement.
Yeah, exactly.
I believe this is where we get the only bit of tit in the whole movie as well.
Yeah, very briefly.
Very briefly. Briefly.
It's there and it's gone.
The best part about this for me when I was watching it is, at this point, just as they go into hell, my girlfriend stands up from her chair and tries to ask me what's going on.
Check out all of these shows and more on the We Made This podcast network.